that's all good to go. Confirm. Oh, I've got to confirm my age. Right, I'm just confirming my age on... Hey Xavier, how you doing, mate? Drop a comment. Drop a comment and I'll share some value. Let's have a look here. I'm just setting up the TikTok because I've got to confirm my age. I'm not underage. What's up, guys? Hope you're doing well. We are doing we're just doing a quick live boost on YouTube, actually. So we're on YouTube, and I'm also running on Instagram, so you'll be able to see. And we're just going to run through listing presentation basics. So some of the skills and things that I've learned through going through probably 1,500 listing presentations. So it's been heaps of presentations, and I just want to share with people on what I've learned through them and what you can learn to get better and how to improve things and get better. Okay, it looks like I've got, I can't go live on TikTok, but anyway, we'll do TikTok another time. We'll leave all the young kids on TikTok for next time. All right, so if you guys want to jump on YouTube, I'm actually on YouTube. I've got a new Insta360 camera going, which is cool. And let's go through some stats and some information on listing presentations. So over the past 3 years, we've done around 1,500 listing presentations. And the key with a listing presentation is we need to determine firstly, is this person worth to even do a full presentation to? Because we do presentations to people that are not really ready, or we talk too much about marketing and try to sell it too hard, then we can actually eliminate them as clients. So we want to keep it professional and provide value, because some people might not be ready to sell right now, but they'll be ready in 1 year time. And if you're there to push them and pressure them to sell and not give them the diplomatic correct answer or the best answer in their interest, then it could hurt your potential in the future. Let's say a person, for example, I was looking to sell a property in central Auckland. I could have sold it for about $2 million, and it turns out that this guy didn't have to sell, but he wants to make the most amount of money. So I had a 30-minute mentor chat up with him, and we found out that why doesn't he just subdivide the property, sell one piece off, and sell the other one off? And that's really, he ended up doing that. So I called him back a month later. He said, yep, I'm subdividing the property. And that was the decision to try to get him an extra $200,000 or $300,000 more on that sale price, because he's not pressured. He can subdivide it. And I said, it's going to take you 2 phone calls, because you're not going to do the subdivision, and you're going to get an extra $200,000. So work it out. Each phone call's worth $100,000. And he said, oh, I'm a bit lazy. I'm like, well, there's $100,000 for a phone call. Why don't you do it? And he ends up doing it. So I was there not to get the listing, but I'm trying to solve his problem. His problem is the price. The price is not there right yet. Okay, let's make it work. Can we recommend him to subdivide and build that into and make a lot more money through that strategy? So the key that I focus on with listing presentations is to pre-qualify people correctly. So the first pre-qualifications is I would encourage everyone to get the app Boards on their phone. Now, Boards is a really good shortcut app, and you can download it and you can have a few questions pre-qualified. So when you type it in your CRM or on your phone, you're going to just type in Boards, and you're going to push one button and it will pre-type out all the questions for what you're going to ask the client. So a few key questions that we're going to say is how many bedrooms do you have? What's your plan ahead? Have you done renovations? Are you speaking to other agents? What's your golden price? What do you really want to get for the property? And we can then talk about any recent sales they've seen in the area, where they're moving to, what's their budget. I'll say what's the debt levels, because I try to work out their debt levels before we even go see them, because if you know the numbers don't stack up debt-wise there, you might save an hour of your time giving the whole appraisal. You realise they're over their head with debt. So trying to pre-qualify to see, is it worth even spending an hour of time with this client? And that's really important that we need to focus on. So once we get to the appraisal, and we're here to build relationship and rapport with clients, and a lot of our appraisals are based on Josh Teslin. So the beginning of the appraisal, we want high energy, we want to be energetic, you can wear funny socks. So if you're quite a professional looking person and people think you might be a bit stuck up, you can wear some crazy socks. So I wear socks with like ducks on. I wear socks that are different crazy colors. It looks like kids' socks at the end of the day. But people, they see you got funny socks on, you say, look, I've got my best socks for you. And they walk through and they see this guy actually doesn't take himself too seriously. So it's a nice, soft way for people to realize that actually you're just a fun agent that's here to get them a professional good result, but then you also don't take yourself too seriously. And through that whole walkthrough of the house, I try and get through the house first to really connect with the buyer or connect with that vendor. We want to try and find those common interests. We want to find common ground. As soon as we can find common ground, then they see us like them, and people want to do business with other people that they are like and they like. So if you can get someone to like you and they see common ground, they're like, I'm actually like this person. I want to do business with this person because I'm like that person. If you find zero common ground, they might decide, actually, I don't like this person. I've got no interests that are similar. I'd rather work with someone that I really want to work with. So trying to find that common ground, and we've got to be that chameleon. We've got to really morph our personality, our interests, or try and ask questions to determine what this client what drives them, what do they like, what do they don't like. And it's very easy to pick. You look around the property, you kind of pick out things that they enjoy, whether it's be sport teams, a nice garden, maybe you can see they've got lots of cooking stuff around, so you can try and dig into their personal things and trying to find that common ground. And there's been listing presentations where you can connect with them so well, and you don't need to do the whole listing presentation because you're just like mates at the end of the day. I know one agent spoke about gym. He spoke about gym equipment to a personal training CrossFit for a whole hour, and then after the hour, the guy decided, actually, you get the listing here, marketing, fees, everything signed up, and they just talked about gym equipment the whole hour. So it's very interesting that once we connect with someone and they really, really like us, then they're like, I want to do business with this person. And that's something that's important when we do our listing presentation. So everyone that's joining, we're just running through over some high-level listing presentation information on what's worked really well for me. Then also another pre-qualifying question is that we've lost lots of listings from not making sure that we've got all decision makers there. And you can do your amazing pitch and incredible pitch, but if you don't have the wife there, the wife's met another agent, she's a bit more comfortable with them, and you've lost that listing because you don't have all full decision makers there. And it's pretty interesting because sometimes the wife's the decision maker, sometimes the husband is, sometimes it's a joint decision. And I've had cases where we meet all the decision makers what we think, but actually the kids are the decision makers that are not even on the title because the parents are selling the property because of the kids, and the kids are not in the conversation, so you've just wasted all that time. So wrapping up into all of that information is it's a lot of information, but we want to just try and pre-qualify that client enough so that we can maximize our chance of actually getting that listing. Cool. So let's go into the next part of our listing presentation. If you guys have got any questions on listing presentations, drop it in the comments. I've got some live chat over here. We've got a few people live, which is good to see, and we'll see if we can answer any other questions that you guys have. So let's have a look here. I'm just trying to find. I had a few bullet points that I was going to write out over here. I don't know what's happened to these bullet points here. Website, YouTube. Okay, anyway, let's have a look here. Any other questions? No. So I like to do all my listing presentations on an iPad, and the reason I like the iPad is because I can control that full presentation of the client. If we do, what I have found in the past is that if you've got a piece of paper and it's a very small presentation, small photos of properties, it's very tough to explain to the vendors what's in that appraisal and what those properties are like. So I get the iPad and I zoom it in nice and really big over for people to connect. So I'll give you an example over here and then everyone can see. So every one of my listing presentations, I create massive photos of all the appraisals, and I get a virtual assistant to do this. And the virtual assistant, I pay them like $8 USD per hour, and they'll put together all of the appraisal pages overnight. So what I do is I just select a few comparables, and then overnight they'll put all the appraisal together, and then I don't need to do any work. So this is an example on Carruth Road. So I've got one massive photo of the property, I've got a bit of write-up, and I've got 4 big photos. This is all on an A4 page, so this is like massive and huge. And by doing this, I can zoom in to this property and look at all the nice photos, and then the client's like, oh yep, I can see that's a do-up, I can see it's a nice property. And for me, personally, I feel like it gives me an edge. People can see exactly what that property's like, and then they're like, okay, cool, very good, this guy's a professional young man and he's giving me all the information that I need. Whereas you get another guy that walks around the next day and he prints out a piece of paper, it's a black and white page, the property photo's like that big, and then he says, this is your appraisal. And they look at the page and they're like, oh my goodness, this is how this guy does business. When I've had this guy with this massive presentation iPad, this is like, and he's got signing me on the glass, and I just feel like this dude has got the technology, and this is really, really cool. So with my listing presentation, I also try and twist. We really want to look at all of our stats and try and maximize. I don't know why my computer turned off, but anyway, yeah, it did a reset. Anyway, we really want to maximize our stats with us as agents. So what you want to look at is look at the past year and then work out how many listings you've got, how many auction listings, how many appraisals you've done, or how much commission income you've earned. Because by looking at those, we can determine, should we look at our stats based on a 1 year, maybe a 6 month, or even 3 month, or even a 1 month period. Because we want to find out what stats can we tell the universe that I've achieved this top 2 or top 1 or within this short time period. And if you've sold, say, 50 homes, you need to, don't say I've sold 50 homes in 10 years, better just say I've sold 50 homes. Then people compare with someone who hasn't sold 50 homes, and then you've got a lot more chance of winning that listing because you're just talking about the number of transactions that you've completed. So that's very important, is to look at your stats, work it out, and say, all right, we've sold 50 homes, we've sold this many in this time frame, and that's going to better your chance of getting the listing. So when I sold 12 homes, I would write on my whole profile, top 10% seller from December to February in the whole of Ray White. And people be like, wow, he's top 10%, but I've just taken like a 2 month period because I want to create this impression that I am in the top 10%. And then I hit top 1 auction lister in the whole country, and then I decided, all right, I'm number 1 auction lister suddenly in New Zealand for 1 month. So then I just called it, I'm number 1 auction lister in New Zealand for this. And I mean, a lot of agents do this, but I mean, you just got to roll with the punches at the end of the day. This is what everyone's doing, so we want to create that perception as reality when we are marketing ourselves. All right, I'm just going to log into the Mac over here. Just note to self, don't put the iPad on the Mac when you're doing live. It just turns it off for some reason. I think I pushed the off button. So anyway, if you've joined up recently to the live, welcome. Should be doing this on YouTube as well, and if you've got any questions regarding listing presentations, the process, just let me know and I'll be happy to answer. Next thing, when talking through the listing presentation, let's say we've done the whole presentation and we get into the final stages of it's crunch time. Are we going to sign up for the listing or are we not? And there's a few things that people are going to look at. Is they're going to ask us things about, okay, well, the fees might be an objection for them. The next thing they're going to worry about is they might see another agent. If they're going to see another agent and it's already booked in, then it's quite tough to push them to say, look, actually, we want to go see another agent. If you're going to want to cancel that appointment with them, it's very low chance of that happening. So what we want to do is we want to pre-qualify first if that client is going to even see another agent before we meet them, and then once we find that information, then we know if it's going to be, we'd rather see the client later rather than before. So once we get objections from the client, there's a few ways we can try push things over the line. Let's say the objection's coming from the fees, and fees are a big thing. You might decide to use dialogues to try push back on the fees, and you say, look, at the end of the day, my fees are negotiable. They are negotiable upwards. And then you can leave a bit of space for them to laugh and have a bit of a joke. And you say, look, let's just we can talk about the fees at the end of the campaign. But right now, you've employed me. Let me try get the best price for you. If we can get 30,000 more than what you wanted, would you be okay if you pay us a fair fee? And they'll think back, okay, yep, well, if we can get you 30 grand more, that will be fair. So we really want to be try and pushing that fee conversation right to the end rather than dealing with it right now. So with our fee conversation, try push it to the end. If they are not having a bar of it and they say, look, we like you, just the fees are a bit too high. Look, there may be cases that you decide, look, I'm going to take a walk and I'm not going to drop at all, and I'm going to take a risk and I think they will come back, and then that's your decision to take that decision. There might be other situations where you decide, actually, I'm going to try and just give them a small boost and say, look, I'll give you a $2,000 discount only for today. Let's get it wrapped up. Let's get it moving. So we're not saying 10%, 15, 20%, because if you drop it way too much, then it will be you're just throwing money away at the end of the day. So that's what I like to do, is try have a small boost of that fee rather than just dropping it all the way. And then look, if they've got 4 other agents that came through and other agents are dropping all to like 2% or 2.5, then you've got to make a call. You've got to make that business decision. You've got to say, well, look, at the end of the day, should I drop the fee, get the deal, and move on, or am I happy to walk away from it? And you've got to really make that call, because you're only as strong as your next best alternative. Let's say you've worked for 3 months, you've got no listings. This is a solid listing. You'll get it if you drop your fee. Well, you've got no best alternatives. You're bloody eating baked beans at the end of the day. So maybe you've got to make that decision. But let's say you've got 10 listings running. The vendor's a little bit stuck up. You don't really want to work for them unless it's a good fee. Then you might just say, look, that's the fee. I'd love to work with you. I know my value, and this is what it's like. So in negotiation, you're only as strong as your next best alternative. And if your next best alternative is quite weak and not that good, like you've got no listings and you're broke, then you might decide, okay, let's just do a bit of a deal and get it wrapped up. All right, we've got Fred's Real Estate has got a quick question on, if you were to choose between calls or door knocking for prospecting, what would you choose? Thank you. If I had to choose between the two. Yeah, I think it does depend on how much data you have and where your strengths are, because if you've got zero data, like who you're gonna call, so then you just got to door knock. You have to door knock. So I'll talk about both strategies on the mindset and the fundamentals that we work on. Is if you're going to be door knocking, you really want to be data collecting. Like that's your main goal, is to data collect. You don't want to be trying to get this super lucky deal and get it properly sold. You want to data collect. So if you're going to knock on 50 doors, you speak to 25 people, you want to try and get 5 to 10 data points of phone number, owner name, owner email that you can follow up with. Because if you get, let's say you get 10 points of data each day over 5 days a week, that's 50. Over 1 month, 50, 100, 150, 200. That's 200 data points a month if you're doing consistent door knocking every day. So you do that over a year, that's 2,000 data points that you've met face to face. You've met the owner, you've got a face-to-face connection. Now, your system has now switched all to cold call. You can just call that 2,000 people and you can just work that. You don't have to door knock anymore, because now you're just keeping in touch with that relationship. So it's more about that follow-up and keeping in touch with those people until they're ready, rather than just, you can still door knock the street and build that face brand in the area, because the more time they see you on the street, the better. But I would try to do both. I'd say, look, 5 days a week I'm doing the calls. I'm going to speak to 40 people every day on the call. And then on the weekend, I'm going to change it up and I'm going to do some door knocking. I'm going to try to get 10 numbers each week, each day on the weekend. And then we might say, look, I'm going to try to do 20 now. So, and trying to focus on that singular area where you can get momentum in the area. Sean Ruthra, got a question. Sean, let's have a look here. Do you push for all the decision makers to be there at the booking, even through a pure cold call? Usually the booking I get through cold calls are 6 to 12 months for selling. I would try get all decision makers there. I'd say, look, if you're going to be selling in 6 months' time, you could be on the market in 3 months and sold in 3 months' time. So it's actually all decision makers, or you can say all players, need to be on the field, because this is very important. There's going to be questions that come up that your partner might ask, and they just don't know, and that you won't know how to answer, whereas I'm there to answer every single question for you. So that's quite a good dialogue, saying all players, it would be like best of all players on the field. You try that. Then you say, look, it would be best if you're all available. Is it okay? I'm very flexible with my timing. I can work up to 7, 8 p.m. at night in the week, or on the weekend, very flexible. What time would you both be available? So really just saying that you're so flexible with your timing, when are you both available? That's going to give an opportunity for people to book in with you by giving that flexibility. Look, if you can't, let's say you get one guy who says, no, I'm the boss, I make all decisions, and you just got to roll with the punches and just take a risk with it. But you try and give a really good shot in trying to book that appraisal with all decision makers. Cool, very good, guys. Well, it's been 20 minutes now, and I'm going to be wrapping up soon. So if you've got one last question you want to ask, just shoot it down, and I'll answer it. I had a script over here, but let's have a look here. Yeah, the script for some reason just disappeared. YouTube hook. Coursework summarization plan. Okay, no. Teleprompter. Okay, I'll just wrap up on the last some of Alex Jordan's strategy, and Alex Jordan was writing 300k commission in his over a 5-year period, and then he decided to change his strategy completely. He took his target market down to 780 homes, like affluent. I think average price could be 2 mil plus, 2 to 3 mil, and he door knocked all 780 homes like 2 or 3 times that year. He printed out a detailed suburb report of 70 pages talking about the market, good information, and just showed him as that professional person, and he hand-delivered that to all 780 homes. So hand-delivered and door-knocked them all, and then he'll do targeted social media ads. So you take his phone, record, say, hey guys, this property just down the road, this sold recently, this is the result, and you boost that only in that area, so like very targeted area. And within a 2-year period, 68% market share over those 780 homes, and then he was up to, I think, around $5 million GCI. Following that, he's gone close to $10 million now, and for 5 years he was only up to 300k GCI. So things have changed with his business because he niched down and focused and got momentum in that area. So if you do have a suburb that you more prefer, or you've got more sales there, I would try and prospect that area in terms of the calls and also the letters. So try and choose letters or flyers, and try and send out a letter every week would be great, or every 2 weeks, and just that consistency through the whole year. Because I sold a property this week where the guy got letters from us for 3 years, and we sold the property within 21 days after. He gave us a call, said, look, you've sent the letters for 3 years and you get the listing. Signed up, all done. So it's very interesting to see that some people, they'll receive your letter, they look at it, they think about calling you, but they don't want to call you because they're not quite ready. But then they get a letter next month, and then they're like, oh, maybe I'll call him, and then they get a letter the next month, and then decide, look, Lawrence, I've got your letter like 3 times, and I was going to call you that letter, and I lost that one, and okay, now I'm calling you now I'm ready. So people are very indecisive with their decisions, also with property. Unless there's a divorce and a force of sale, people are very indecisive. And they're like, oh, should we move? Is it upsizing time? The kids they're moving because of school zone. So all of those things, it's quite important to realize that the more touch points we have with the client, the more mind market share we have with them, and the more mind market share, the more chance we are actually getting the listing. So the agent that has 150 touch points in the client's mind over that year has got a much better chance of getting that listing versus a guy that's only got 4 phone calls and maybe 1 email. So try and increase your market share. Look at all of your clients that are potential sellers and see how many points of contact are we getting out to them. Are we sending them a weekly text? Are they getting a weekly email? Are they getting a call every month at minimum? Do I have a list to follow up with those people? Because you only need 500 people that are on the hot list that you're following up with, because let's say 10% of those sell, 50 sales, you sell 25 of those, that's almost like 900k commission just from nurturing 500 qualified people. So very good, guys. We've got it wrapped up. Hope you guys have a good day. Let's get this all saved. Let's have a look here. Share. Can I share this over here? Share. Copy. Save. I don't know how to end this one. End now.